So I thought recently I would have a go at putting the new Doctor Who stories in order historically. That you can probably find other kind of articles or people who have done this online, but this was my attempt at it. And today I'm going to split this up into three parts. I'm going to do the past and the present slash not too distant future at some point, but today I thought I'd focus on Doctor Who: The Future. Now, the present and the not too distant future ranges from 2005 to 2020, which by this point is only a year away. So this one is going to focus on the kind of distant future, the ones that are still a few years away. We start off in the year 2049, where the 12th Doctor, Clara, and Courtney Woods end up travelling to the moon and discovering that it's a giant egg. The egg then eventually hatches, revealing a bat creature which eventually lays another moon. Yeah, this is Doctor Who. It's going to get pretty weird. 10 years later, in 2059, the 10th Doctor shows up on Mars to find Bowie Base 1, run by Adelaide Brooke, and also a kind of plague that's being kind of passed on by the water. Adelaide is eventually forced to destroy Bowie Base 1, but then is unwillingly rescued by the 10th Doctor. Then we hop forward a bit to the next century, exactly the 22nd century, as somewhere in the depths of there, the 11th Doctor, Amy and Rory, find themselves at a monastery on an island that's farming acid. They eventually discover that kind of copies that the crew made of themselves, known as gangers, are attempting to gang up, quite literally, against the humans, and they have to find a way to stop them. I don't know now whether this next one happens before or after this is up to you, but in 2119, the 12th Doctor and Clara arrive at an undersea base which is currently under siege by ghosts. To which the Doctor ends up travelling back to the 1980s, but I'll get to that when I get to that. In the 38th century, the Doctor, the 12th Doctor and Clara discover that the scientist named Rasmussen has managed to conquer the labour market and nature by reducing the cycle of sleep, but in doing so has created strange sand creatures that are stalking a base orbiting Uranus. That happens in the 38th century. In the 42nd century, the 10th Doctor and Martha Jones have to stop a ship called the SS Pentalion from crashing into the sun. That happens somewhere in the 42nd century. In 4126, the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble end up on the Ood sphere and then discover that they've got a pretty good society there, but also that the Ood are still kind of being abused as slaves, and eventually manage to find a way to free them from tyranny. In 4221, the 10th Doctor and Rose end up on a seemingly impossible planet orbiting a black hole, and soon discover that part of this is down to the Devil, who is down in the pit. They have to find a way to deal with him. Somewhere in the 44th century, shortly after that, the Doctor convinces a bitter old miser named Kazran Sardik to change his ways and be a happier man. Well, through time travelling and changing his past, which honestly isn't that chill. Somewhere in the 51st century, the Doctor, the 11th Doctor, and his companion Amy Pond meet up with kind of renowned archaeologist and criminal River Song and have to deal with weeping angels kind of chasing them throughout a ship's wreckage. That happens in the 51st century. Somewhere in the early 51st century, kind of around 5006 or thereabouts, the 10th Doctor, his companions Rose Tyler and Mickey Smith end up on a mysterious spaceship that somehow gives them a portal back to 18th century Paris. So that's somewhere kind of around 5006. Around this similar sort of time, in the year kind of 5009 or thereabouts, the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble arrive at the mysterious library, a whole planet full of books, and also have to deal with creepy shadows wandering about the place. That's around the year 5009. Somewhere in the 52nd century, 5100 or thereabouts, Amy Pond gets kidnapped and basically forced to give birth aboard a space station. Yeah, it's pretty odd. In 5343, River Song unknowingly recruits the 12th Doctor as part of her plan to kill her husband, who has a diamond in his brain. Yeah, I told you this was going to get pretty weird. In 5425, the 13th Doctor and her companions Graham, Ryan, and Yaz end up on a mysterious planet that seems to kind of affect their memory and also meet up with their old enemy Sim Shah, who was kind of taken over the minds of, or taken over the kind of faith of two Uks and is attempting to use them for great power and revenge. Anyway, hop forward about kind of just under 100. Hop forward a couple of years, we end up in the year 6012. On the planet Messalin, the Doctor is kind of forced his hand into a progenation device, and he ends up creating kind of a version of his daughter. I mean, yeah, it's pretty odd. In the year, well, not so much the year. In the 67th century, the Doctor and her friends are kind of caught in kind of a gravity mine, or something along the lines, and are then kind of held on a hospital ship until they can get the necessary medical attention. In the year 200,000, the 9th Doctor and his companion Rose Tyler end up on a mysterious space station which kind of gives people the news. And 100 years on from that, in the year 200,100, they end up back on that same space station, which has now been turned into the game station. In the year 5 billion, the 9th Doctor and Rose Tyler witness the end of the world as the sun expands. And somewhere in between there and 5,023,000, somewhere in between there, the 11th Doctor and his companion Amy Pond discover pretty much the United Kingdom in space. So, yeah. In the year 5,023,000, the 10th Doctor and his companion Rose Tyler, he takes her to the new human colony planet, New Earth, where they discover a hospital being run by cats. And in the year 5,053,000, he takes his companion Martha Jones back to that same planet in the city of New York, where they have to find a way to free everyone from the motorway. And finally, the final piece of Doctor Who future that I'm here to mention takes place in the year 100 trillion, when the 10th Doctor and his companion Martha Jones end up there along with the Doctor's old friend Captain Jack Harkness, and they're soon tricked and trapped by the Doctor's old nemesis, the Master. Well, there you go, that's the Doctor Who future sorted out. As I said, at some point I will try and get the kind of present and the not too distant future and the past sorted out, but for the time being, there's Doctor Who's future in order, from 2049 through to 100 trillion. We got a long way to go. Until next time, see ya.